Change isn't just coming, it's already here. This is Ask for Change podcast, hosted by leadership expert Meridith Elliott Powell. Brings you weekly conversations with leaders and experts who are redefining success in a world of disruption. Let's begin today's journey and turn uncertainty into your competitive advantage.
Let's turn it into your competitive advantage. Well, you know what, everyone? You are lucky because today I have one of the world's leading experts on customer experience and competitive advantage. I've got the one and only David Avrin. He is an internationally in-demand, I think he's one of the busiest speakers, keynote speakers I know. He's a consultant, best-selling author who really helps organizations across, is there any country you've not spoken in? Rethink how they serve customers, build loyalty, and grow in a rapidly changing marketplace. He is also the author of many acclaimed books, but ridiculously easy to do business with is one I really want to focus on today. So welcome to the show, David.
Thank you, friend. So nice to be here. And of course, I could return the favor and wax poetic about your accomplishments. Also, Mutual Admiration Society, longtime friends, and I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience.
Well, I'm really excited about this this whole idea of being ridiculously easy to do business with. And where I want to dive in, David, is when did it occur to you, or when did you start to see in the marketplace that being easy to do business with was a competitive advantage?
You know, it was interesting. The whole early part of my career, my speaking and consulting was around marketing and branding and how do we better describe what it is that we do. I wrote books on it, strategically located next to my head behind me. But the world changed, and the world changed in terms of the criteria that we use for who we choose to do business with. And it's less about what we say about ourselves. And today it's more about what other people say about us.
Yeah.
And in working with clients and speaking to audiences, as you said, around the world that I do, what I kept hearing over and over again is that, you know, these businesses are really good, but why are they such a pain to deal with? Why is it so hard to reach a real person? Why is it so frustrating when I just want to resolve an issue or cancel a subscription? The quality of the products and the services is really at a level I think we've never seen. There's a great equalization in the marketplace that has been brought about because of Yelp and TripAdvisor and Rotten Tomatoes and Glassdoor. There's ways for people to express their opinions or their displeasure at something. So if you weren't good, you wouldn't survive today. But the next level from that, beyond competency and quality and commitment and caring and people, is how is it to actually work with you when there's so many choices that we have, when everybody's good, arguably everybody's good today, or they wouldn't survive. It really comes down to that experience. And to clarify, I don't really talk about customer service because I think we get that. We know how to be nice to people.
Yeah.
The experience is from the customer's perspective. How easy was it to do this? Was it frustrating? Was it complicated? Was it simple? Was it infuriating? And so that's what those conversations drove the newest book and my mantra and my message that I am ride or die probably for the next 10 years about being ridiculously easy to do business with.
So I'm curious, does uncertainty change customer behavior? Does it, as us as consumers?
Well, even more than that, it drives it. And I love your subject about talking about thriving in times of uncertainty, because I think it's such an important message for organizations. But let's flip it around and look at it from the customer's perspective. When they're uncertain, when they wonder or they worry, they're looking for the exit. They're looking for alternatives, especially think about somebody like on a deadline, or they've applied for a mortgage and they're in competition for a prime house or a piece of property. Getting that response back quickly, even if the answer is no, even if they're going to get rejected for a loan, give me the no quickly, simplify the process so I can seek alternatives, because that uncertainty, delayed response creates uncertainty, right? We put a request in or looking for an answer and we don't hear back. We're filling that gap. That what do they say? Nature abhors a vacuum. In that vacuum, we will fill it with negative scenarios, right? Rigid policies create uncertainty. Well, are they going to say yes, or are they going to say no? Contact forms. The worst employee in your organization is a contact form. because we don't know who's receiving it. We don't know when they're going to get back to us, right? Chatbots create uncertainty because, they're getting better, but there's two reasons. One is the things that they lack. Number one is cognizance. How often do they not understand what you're trying to say? And the
So
other one
often.
is authority or agency. They can't really solve your problem. They can just give you information. So once again, I love your subject of uncertainty, but when you see uncertainty in your customers, when they're experiencing that, I don't know if I'm going to get it. I don't know if they're going to say yes. It's like, I don't know if I can be able to talk to a real person. They get very frustrated. And as we know, our customers and clients are getting very frustrated very quickly.
Yeah, and I think one thing as business owners we lose sight of is just the very fact of how much choice customers have, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the moment I become frustrated, I can opt out of this relationship
Yeah.
because if I still want the product, you can definitely go somewhere else to get it, and frustration is that point. So where does I am guessing that you're never easy enough to do business with. Is that true, or are you always on looking for improvement?
Well, are you talking about me personally?
Yeah.
But we use that as our competitive advantage as well. Listen, you and I speak for a living. We consult. We work with clients. It's astonishing to me how difficult it is to reach some of our colleagues. You go to
Yes.
their website and there's no phone number. They just have the contact form because I am one of my competitive advantages. I am ridiculously easy to reach, unless I'm on an airplane, and I guess they're getting better at the Wi-Fi. Is that we're 24/7. Now, yes, we have life balance, and yes, we have some reasonable boundaries, but because I work globally, and when my clients overseas want to have a conversation, I'm the one doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning or
Yep.
4 o'clock in the morning, never them. When I get, whether we have a contact form, but we also have all the phone numbers. No matter how they reach out, we try to respond very, 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 very quickly. Oftentimes before our colleagues have even responded, I already have a contract on the way because I've had a conversation. So I'm ridiculously easy to reach. I'm ridiculously easy to pay. We get asked all the time, do you take PayPal? Do you take Zelle or Square or Cash App or Venmo? Yes.
Yes.
Meredith, yes. Now,
Yeah.
granted, we have a different business model than many, larger organizations, but the idea is that we're serving so many generations at the same time, and they want to do business differently. If you've got teenagers, if you've got young people, how they want to communicate is different, how they want to pay is different than, say, the octogenarians, the 70-year-olds, the 80-year-olds, and we have to serve all of them. And so
Yeah.
it's hard. I was on another podcast and somebody asked me, and they said, listen, if we've been talking about this forever, why is it that business owners just don't get this? And I said, of course they get it. I'm a fan of business. We get it. They get it. It's just hard, but it's
Yeah.
worth it. But it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
Making those modifications.
I think far too often like what I have found, one of the things my clients hate that I make them do, but we do it, is to role play the being the customer. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like take a little bit of time where you come in as the customer and experience your organization. And if what's happening, even if you're pretty easy to do business with, you'll always find opportunities where you could make the experience a little bit better and improve that experience. So I'm curious, one thing I was thinking about when I was reading your book is that are there parts of the are there parts of the experience that it's more important to be easier to do business with than in other parts of the
Oh yeah, it's a
experience?
great question. That's a great question. And I've never been asked that, but here's the answer: is in those moments, those elements, those interactions where the customer or client has an expectation of ease, when they know that you have a choice and you still say no. Like there is necessary friction and there's unnecessary friction. The necessary friction is when you're trying to log in on your mobile device to your bank account and they need you to verify who you are and they send you a code. It's a little bit of a pain, but that's necessary friction. We understand why that is. But when we're at a restaurant and we order some minor change to the menu. Can I get a chicken Caesar, but can I do shrimps instead of chicken? And they say, oh, no menu substitutions. That's unnecessary.
Yeah.
There's no reason for them to say no other than they don't want to do it, right? When they work so hard to get your business and you get a free trial on the app, but you have to put in your credit card number, you know it's not a free trial. That's unnecessary friction. They're trying to get you, and you know they're trying to get you, and you know you're going to forget to cancel, and they're going to renew it automatically in a year. And it's a borderline unethical, sleazy way of making money. And so to answer the question again, the most important parts are where we as customers know you can say yes, and you still say no.
Yeah.
For stupid things. Our wonderful colleague Tim Gard has his policy manual, which is the greatest bit. He sold thousands of these things, where literally he'll go to a hotel and say, and if they say no, sorry, it's our policy. And he opens up his own policy manual, and just on a page it says, well, my policy manual says yes. And then they're like, and they don't know. It's the greatest bit, but it's a nod towards some really unnecessary quoting of policies and procedure. Well, I'm sorry, that's your policy and procedure. It doesn't serve changing customer expectations. We're in an interesting time, this interesting dichotomy between a time when we're kind of getting more rigid because we want some predictability in our customer journey and revenue. At the same time, customer issues and requests and challenges are more complicated.
Right.
And there's a disconnect.
Yeah. So David, has being easy to do business with, is it more important than price, or has it edged out price?
It's become, I think, in some ways, the primary driver of customer behavior. Price is always going to be important. We've heard sales trainers and others say, you do X and Y, price is no longer an issue. You just took price off the table. I think that's crap. I think price is always an issue, but as long as you're priced competitively, then it's not the issue. Even if you're premium in your category, as long as you're priced competitively, then we go to a second level of criteria. And so what's driving customer reviews and Yelp and TripAdvisor and that social proof? Oftentimes it's how was that experience? Was it a pain? Was it frustrating? Was somebody responsive? You generally don't see a lot of reviews because somebody smiled at you.
Yeah.
And smiling is great. Our colleague Shep Hyken did a great study where, I think I'm going to get this right. I think he said 63% of people prefer an easy customer experience over a friendly one.
Yeah.
Right? Friendly is great. Give me friendly. Just don't give me friendly and then tell me no for stupid things. Don't be friendly and then give me scripted empathy. Oh, I understand, Miss Powell, how frustrating that must be. And you're like, don't read the script.
Yeah.
Just listen. So ease has become very, very important because we know we have choices. What's interesting is I work with organizations, and I would always ask them the question, why do you think customers do business with you? And they always answer the same thing, and it's the wrong answer. They say it's the relationship. It's all about the relationship. And I say, would it surprise you to learn that your customers never give that answer? Now, they'll stay for the relationship. The relationship is a retention tool, but they come to you because they have a need. And if you do a great job or you end up, building that that's great. Certainly financial services and professional services, that stuff's important. But the complaints that you're going to see are rarely about the quality of the product or the service. It was how frustrating it was.
Oh,
if they don't feel like they have an audience with you, then they will find that audience online.
My husband and I just changed financial advisors. Great relationship, had fabulous relationship, but it became their organization had changed so much, and we could never get a hold of anybody. Nobody ever returned a phone call, everything. And we just got so frustrated. We were out of there, and you're so right. The relationship was the retention. I think it's the reason we dragged our feet, and it had to become so incredibly frustrating that we got to the point where we were so frustrated, we just moved out of that relationship.
And you notice what you didn't comment was the fact that you left because of the quality of the financial advice.
Not at all.
It was, there's a lot of smart people. It's who's going to make it more frustrating. And when it turned into that uncertainty for you as a client, you look for alternatives. Who is
Yes.
going to be more responsive?
Yes. Is there, when it comes to being easy to do business with, does it matter from online versus in person, and how much is accessibility to a human being? How much does that matter?
Well, it's a great question. First of all, it's all important, but it's just different. Of course, the online is different. Banks will talk about the importance of a relationship, and I don't. There is no relationship. It's all transactional, and most of it's on my mobile device.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we don't have an experience. It's just a digital one, right? And
Yeah.
so, and so all of that's important. I forgot the second part of your
Well,
question.
just does it matter more? Like, do you need to have access to a human being?
Oh yeah, yeah. And this sounds like the cop-out answer. It depends.
Mhm.
It depends on the nature of the question. Is it simple? Is it pedestrian? Or is it complicated? And it very much depends on sort of the demographics and the psychographics. We just did a new research study called the frequency of customer friction. And some of the results were really interesting and some were very, very disturbing. One was the fact that younger people tended to not get stressed out nearly as much. 14% of them just said they let things roll off their back. And it was the millennials and the younger ones. But the higher, there were two aspects. One was the higher the income, and the second one was the longer of their loyalty drove some really significant expectations of access, of responsiveness. These are the people who are like, you have no idea who you're dealing with, right? Okay, Carl. But what it was the people with the higher income had higher expectations, and the people who had been clients or customers the longest had significantly higher expectations.
Yeah.
Loyalty didn't buy, a freedom. It bought higher expectations. That I've been, and occasionally I'll have to pull out the excuse me, I'm 2 million mile 1K. I need some
Yes.
service here, right? I saw a really interesting and funny study that showed that people will stand in a line that's commensurate with their status level, even if that line is longer than the
Yes.
other line. And I'm totally.
I cannot tell you how guilty I am of that.
Earn the right to be in this line.
Yeah.
So being able to reach a human is important if you feel like you really need to reach a human. And that's the challenge, is that we understand digital assistants, chatbots, and all that. And our research also showed that it's not that people hate hate chatbots. They hate being trapped in them, or digital assistants, even voice.
Oh yeah, digital. I hate being trapped in digital assistants when I have a technical problem. When I have something that's a little more complicated and it can't handle it, I hate being stuck there.
Well, and being looped back around, we're like, real person, agent. Yeah. I think you said no. It's like, oh, kill me.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's crazy about this, Meridith, is these are your customers.
Yeah.
These are the people we've worked so hard to earn their business. And then we frustrate them at a point of contact. It's insane to me.
Yeah, we've done the most expensive part, which is getting them to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get them to the website, and then you frustrate them because there's no actual way to contact a real person.
Yes.
And I understand there's an allure, right? I heard 700, that one chatbot can replace 700 customer service workers. There is an allure to that, to your bean counters, to your COO. But I guarantee when some of these operational decisions are being made, customer experience isn't in the room.
Right.
Sales or PR is not in the room.
Yeah.
Because it makes so much. Look how much money we're going to save, but how much are you going to lose in goodwill and customers looking for alternatives?
Yes. Yeah. I want to ask too about the importance of having all the different ways to communicate. One of the things that frustrates me the most, and I think healthcare is one of the worst. Healthcare is such an interesting industry because in some ways it's some of the most advanced, and in some ways it's some of the most antiquated. It's the only industry I still call people and I get a fax number, right? And so often with healthcare organizations, I can't make an appointment online. I can't, I can't really interact with them very much via text. So how much does easy to do business with really encompass all the different ways?
Well, it's not just different industries, it's different modalities. And so you'll hear the term, and for your viewers and listeners as well, this whole term of omni-channel. And omni-channel basically just says however your customers or clients or patients or constituents, however they want to do business with you, we try to accommodate them as best we can. Gone are the days that we can be really rigid. And if you still have communication mechanisms you had in place 20 years ago, friends, you're antiquated, as you had said. So we've got omni-channel in terms of how they want to communicate or pay or complain or reach out or buy. But then each industry is a little bit different as well. And I think you point out very well, healthcare being one, and my background was healthcare for 10 years, is that in some ways they are very advanced, but they're antiquated because so much of the regulatory environment and HIPAA and all of those things require an excessive level of documentation, but they also tend to be pretty siloed. So let's look at it from the patient's perspective. How many times do we have to give the same information? The fact that they're not integrated, or, we go into a physician's office and we're sitting there filling out this paper form or even on the tablet. And one of the things I say is, and this is for every industry, if making life easier for your team involves transferring the work to your customers or clients or patients, you need to rethink that. So that the front desk doesn't have to fill the information. I see, let's give it to the guy who's bleeding profusely from his head. Let's make him fill out all the information. And so it's a rethinking, but it's people like you and people like me and others that push them and encourage them and remind them to look at their customer journey from their customer's perspective.
Yeah. I remember years ago reading an article about JetBlue, and what they used to do was at least once a year, their senior executives had to go out and experience the policies that they had implemented. And I've never forgot it. I read it in Fast Company, and I thought, what a good strategy. Because I've sat in that corporate office before. I've had a senior level corporate position, and I have passed policies where when I have gone out and looked at them, they were the dumbest thing anybody ever created. I mean, talking about creating friction, not only for the customer, but creating friction for the employee, right? Because it's very difficult if you're not interacting with the customer to really understand what their experience is. The further you are away from it, the more you'll complicate it.
Yeah, and most of these frustrations, certainly it's not intentional. Nobody's trying to frustrate the customer, but it's baked in. It's very little. Our research showed it's very little about the attitude or the level of service from the individual. It was the frustration with the policy or the procedure.
Yes.
And it was the forms that they had to fill out, or the whatever that process was the driver of so much of that frustration. And then the complete disempowerment of that person on the front line to actually solve problems. We spend so much time and effort hiring good people and asking them great questions, and then we neuter them,
right,
and give them a script to read. And so that this lack of authority to really stay with you and solve the problem is pretty pervasive.
Yeah, very, very much so. Well, David, it's hard to believe we come to the end of this podcast, and I always like to end with two questions, and you can answer them in either order.
Sure.
How do people find out about you? How do they find out about the incredible work you do? How do they find out about all your books, including Ridiculously Easy to Do Business With? And then the second question, again, in any order, what is your biggest piece of advice for people out there struggling with all this uncertainty in the marketplace? What do they need to do to turn all of this uncertainty into their greatest competitive advantage?
Sure. Well, I'll answer the first one first, and then it'll give me a moment to ponder the second question. It's just my name, and I'm really the only one with my name. So look me up at davidavrin.com. On LinkedIn, it's David Avrin. Instagram, it's The Real David Avrin. That's catfish for a whole other day. But I respond to every inquiry or question, so feel free to reach out and find me online. And in terms of rephrase the second question again.
Yeah.
else
So
do we do?
when you think about people out there struggling with all
Sure.
of this uncertainty, what's your greatest piece of advice for them to turn uncertainty into their greatest competitive advantage?
Absolutely. It's recognize that there's always a tiger on your tail. And the best way, and I sort of equate this with people who are like freaked out that we speak for. How do you, well, we do it because we're prepared. And we are lifelong and day long and week long learners. The way you handle uncertainty, and uncertainty is only increasing, and will be, is you have to be prepared and you have to learn every day. I told my 26-year-old daughter that she should be spending 15 minutes every morning watching a video, reading
Yeah.
something to get better at her industry. Things are changing, but the spoils are reserved for those who are prepared and do the work. And I know that sounds really basic, but there's so much to learn. There's so much new. Go to your industry conferences. The serendipity of the unexpected conversations in the hallways, reading something every day, challenging your own thoughts. I know it sounds like a motivational speaker, which I am not, but that's the only way you handle that uncertainty. And then you become the go-to because everybody else is more uncertain because you're more prepared.
Nice. Such incredible advice. David, I cannot thank you enough for a robust conversation, really great input. We all need to walk away from here and rethink the customer experience and look for opportunities to make it even better. So thank you again. We'll see you
Thank
all
you,
right
Brett.
back here next week for another episode of Ask for Change. And together, we're going to shift how you think, feel, and act about uncertainty. See you next week.